It's me, Stephen Thomas, with another housing debrief. I just want to say thank you for joining us. First, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace. Right now, the housing market is kind of in this little bit of a transition where interest rates made their way above 7%. They stayed above 7% for a few weeks, and it was because of hotter economic data. And then what we saw is this slowdown in the number of pending sales. It wasn't pending sales had kind of plateaued. This is usually when they continue to rise, and they continue to rise during this time period, but they had plateaued. However, within the last week, we saw interest rates coming down a little bit more and more. And as a matter of fact, today is March 7th, Thursday. March 6th, yesterday, it made its way underneath the 7% back into the sixes. And today went down a little bit more. So what we've actually seen with this is demand has increased again. Inventory has gone up just a little bit, but the increases in demand outpaced the increases in supply. So the market is getting a little bit hotter. Typically what happens right around March, right around the beginning of March. However, what we were dealing with was interest rates above 7%, and it was kind of preventing the market from getting a little bit hotter. However, just recently, like I said, within the last week, that has all changed. And there is more news to come because we are very interest rate sensitive. I've talked about it before in last week's episode. We talk about 7% being this threshold where it's a psychological barrier for so many sellers and buyers. There are homeowners that won't come on the market because they don't want to trade in their low interest rates for a high interest rate, especially if it's in the sevens. But once it makes its way down into the sixes, more and more people play. As well as buyers, more people are able to afford as interest rates travel below 6. And 7 just is one of those barriers where it just prevents a lot of activity from happening, and we get this frozen housing market that we've all been experiencing for about the last year and a half, even more than that. So that's where things are at right now. And then tomorrow is Friday, March 8th, and it's Jobs Friday. That's a big, giant data read that comes out tomorrow. And if it is one of those data points that far exceeds expectations and is a lot hotter than everybody thought, and a lot higher, then we'll get interest rates that will actually go up because bond buyers and mortgage-backed security buyers don't really buy as much when this occurs, and then we get interest rates that go up. Now, if it's less than expectations or a lot less than expectations, we can really see interest rates come down with 10-year treasuries and mortgage-backed securities coming down as well. Now, that's one data point tomorrow. And then we have another data point next Tuesday, and that is CPI, Consumer Price Index. Now, Consumer Price Index last month did something wonky for reporting the prior month. Now, the wonkiness had to do with the way that they measure shelter, and it's the way they measure rentals, and it's just an extremely archaic way of doing things. It's so outdated. A lot of economists were kicking and screaming about it, and this should work its way out. If not this report, then definitely the next report. We should see that it continues to march downward, and Consumer Price Index as well as inflation should be getting under control. So that's where we're at in the market. We'll see how everything unfolds next week, but let's get back to the program, the housing debrief. And this week we're talking about why aren't boomers selling? Why aren't baby boomers selling? Now, baby boomers are that generation between that were born between 1945 and 1960, and you know what? Baby boomers just want to kick back and enjoy life, and they're living a whole heck of a lot longer. You can see that life expectancy of baby boomers, the number of individuals in the United States above 65 years old is growing at a large rate year after year. And by the time we get to 2030, there'll be close to 80 million citizens that are older than 65 years old. And you could see life expectancy across the United States. There are some areas where the life expectancy is a little bit lower, but you could see the middle top right below, right around Minnesota and Wisconsin and that area, as well as the East Coast and the West Coast along the coast, the life expectancy goes up. So you can see California, where I'm at, all the way along the coast, it is close to about 87 years old is life expectancy. So people are living a lot longer. And here are some different statistics that are out there regarding baby boomers. 93% of adults that are 55 plus view aging in place as an important goal. So they really want to try to stay where they're at. Once you move, once, you move twice. After a while, it gets really old. People like to stay where they after they get past the midway point of their life, and they just don't want to move. They know how hard it is and challenging it is to move, and a lot of times they just want to stay put. And that was according to U.S. News and World Reports. And then we have the United States Census Bureau that talks about by 2034, there will be more 65 plus citizens than there will be citizens under the age of 18, which just spells out, boy, there's a lot of people that will be retired compared to the people that are actually in school. So that should change when we get to 2034. So, and the National Library of Medicine talks about from 2002 to 2022, the number of older adults in traditional housing increased while people in nursing facilities decreased, which also talks about that whole industry that is occurring where people just want to stay in their home. So why do people prefer aging in place? Well, 83% feel safer in their homes. They just like the cozy comfort feeling of home. Home, 56% say that home reminds them of family. 62% have an emotional attachment to their home. 43% don't feel they can afford assisted living, so staying put is the way to go. 40% like independence and the happiness that occurs by living in their home. So that's quite fascinating. Also, 2 in 5 baby boomers have lived in their home for 20 plus years. That's right, 20 plus years. So the 20 to 29, it is 20%, and it's just shy of 20% for those that have lived in in their homes for right around 30 plus years. So that's a lot, 40%. And you could see that it's skewed towards the end. So there's a lot of people that have been living in their home for at least 10 years on, and they want to stay. And those are the baby boomers. And you could see the other generations, it's much more of a mix. So another thing that's preventing baby boomers from moving, is the capital gains tax. Now, the capital gains tax is where you take the gain in your home and you're able to write it off and not have to pay gains. Well, capital gains tax is the taxation of anything above those gains. Now, if you own a home and you've lived in it for 2 out of the last 5 years, something like that, there is something called the capital gains tax exemption. Now, for individuals, it's $250,000 plus. I mean, it's 250,000. It's up to 250,000 now. For married couples, it's 500,000. So take a home that appreciated, let's say, hypothetically, in value from 500,000 to $1 million, and then you go ahead and sell after you've owned it for so many years. Well, then you can write off that all that $500,000 gain. Now, some of these baby boomers are living in their home for so long that they've actually owned their home for many, many years. They might have bought their house for $200,000. They can sell it for $1 million today. Now they can only write off that $500,000. Now they have a tax expense, and that's what they're referring to, this capital gains tax that's keeping baby boomers from moving because they'll actually get taxed heavily by the United States government. So what needs to happen is a bill needs to pass. Now, there is a bill in Congress, but right now it's been sidelines. It's kind of been pushed off till about 2025. And this is one of those things that will address the supply side of the equation, which is very, very important, because the supply side of the equation, you have to understand, that is where we are chronically low. And that $250,000 and $500,000 is pegged to $1,997. Now, today, what they're proposing is taking it from $250,000 for an individual to $500,000, and from $500,000 to $1 million. Now, keep in mind that $250,000 for even an individual, $1,997, Keep in mind that the average home back then was $120,000. So it far exceeded that. So it covered just about everybody. Nowadays, it doesn't cover a lot of the country because of the areas where you had high run up, and you have that in California. You have those areas that are along the East Coast as well. So this is where there are a lot of homeowners that simply won't move because they don't want to get taxed. And this will take care of that. It'll update the tax from $1997 and peg them to $2024. Now, there is a whole industry that is wrapped up around aging in place. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor and introduce you our sponsor for this episode. And it is all about reverse mortgages. Perfect for talking about baby boomers because it actually enables baby boomers to move and to do something really special. And it's Senior Financial Group, Inc. They specialize in reverse mortgages, and they're your reverse mortgage experts today and for years to come. It's Kevin Kaltenbach. He really knows this stuff. He's been doing this for a long time. Senior Financial Group, Inc., reverse mortgage specialist, 949-910-0932. And with the reverse mortgage, get this, for purchase loans, you can actually help your senior homeowners sell their current residence, use the equity to buy their next primary residence in one transaction, and have no monthly mortgage payment. That's right, no monthly mortgage payment, and that's it's something unique, and it's really designed for these seniors to be able to to move out of their house, also to have no mortgage on a monthly basis. Senior Financial Group, Inc., specializing in reverse mortgages since 2001. Kevin was a director in 2023 of the director of the Orange County Realtors, and very, very involved. And you can reach Kevin Kaltenbach, the president of Senior Financial Group, Inc., 949-910-0932. That's 949-910-0932. Thanks, Kevin, for your sponsorship. It's timely that we're doing this. It's just a coincidence. It's amazing, but that's exact. This helps the mobility of seniors and baby boomers. But so talk to Kevin about that. But let's talk about aging in place. Aging in place. That's right. There is a whole industry that's wrapped up around aging in place. They have all this kind of gear and equipment to allow you to, because people go, how can you do it if you have a 2-story home? Well, there are these mini elevators. There's something like this that allows you to get up the stairs. I know that there are contractors that turn that living room into a full master suite downstairs, and so that they can stay in their homes. And there are, they equip these houses so that they have everything that makes it, wheelchair accessible for those that are aging, as well as there's a lot of different conversions that could be done to bathrooms and to kitchens and different things to make it so that there is the ability to stay in your home as you grow older. And also the healthcare has definitely pivoted towards helping the elderly in their home, and so that when there is an issue, they can go visit them regularly. I know that this is something that's dear to my heart, that I've actually seen this used in my own family, and it's great to see that these wonderful healthcare professionals are able to come right out to the house with their medicine bags and help these seniors. So there's something to be said about aging in place and baby boomers. There's supposed to be this silver tsunami that I know I have silver hair, but it's all these older people were supposed to move. And it's been something that people have been talking about for 10 years now that I've heard. And we've been dispelling this myth because there's not a whole bunch of people that are suddenly deciding that, man, we've got to move because, hey, we're getting older. We want to go live in a home. That's not the way that it's working out now. And the statistics bear it out. People want to stay in their houses and not move. And you could see that this is just contributing to the problem of a very chronically low inventory. And you could see over the last decade, this is partly to blame because baby boomers are simply not moving. And when there's not that normal churn, because as you get older, they don't want to move. So this is the total housing inventory that goes all the way back to 1983. And you could see the Great Recession with those Himalayas in the middle. But ever since the Great Recession, you got to 2012, that arrow follows 2012 on. And you could see that fewer and fewer homes have been placed on the market, as well as you could see that a contributing factor would definitely be the senior baby boomers who are not moving and not allowing enough product to come to market. So that is part of the issue. And so what we're dealing with right now is a supply scarcity, a chronically low supply of homes that does not have any sort of an answer anytime soon. And there's so many people out there that have been on their soapboxes talking about the demise of housing and how there's going to be a crash because of the Airbnb bust or the silver tsunami of all these seniors that are suddenly going to sell their houses at the same time. That just every single theory that they have just isn't backed with statistics. It's backed with a what if. What if something like this happened? But that's not how it's bearing out when you actually drill down in the statistics. Because it just basically, it boils down to supply and demand. And what we're talking about right here is a very, very low supply, so that even the small amount of demand with these high interest rates, because you have affordability issues, but there's still a little bit of demand. It's outpacing the amount of supply because supply is so low. And with the baby boomers adding to this lack of supply, it's just making it so that a lot of the marketplaces across the United States line up in favor of sellers in the negotiating process. It's like a seller's market, and that's where we are at today. And you can see it here and this is Freddie Mac House Price Index, and it's through the month of January. And I'm actually pointing right here. This is 2022, the second half, when the United States was adjusting to these interest rates going from 3.25% all the way up to 7%. And you actually saw values come down for 6 months across the United States. They peaked in June, but then they went down every month until we got to the end of the year, December. And then in January, they started to come back up again. And in 2023, you saw the same thing. Interest rates actually got all the way up to 8%. So you saw values go down a little bit, but people are more used to these higher rates. So it did slow things down at the end of the year, and we had a few months of values going down. But what's happened recently is we're actually seeing right here values going up again for the month of January, and we're just beginning. So it really is small at the beginning, but you can imagine that it's only going to get hotter as we've seen markets get hotter across the United States and locally here in Southern California, the Bay Area, Phoenix, and Vegas that we track. So we're actually starting to see values start to rise again, and it's just because of this massive imbalance between with very, very little supply. It doesn't take much demand to tip the scales in favor of the sellers, and that's exactly what's happening, especially as interest rates come down below that 7% threshold. And adding to tipping that scales with low supply is the fact that baby boomers simply are not moving. So in the United States, through the month of January, it's actually up 6% year over year in values. And we're up 1.6% from the 2022 peak. So 2022, it hit a peak, then it went down. And even for the month of January, it's still 1.6% above that peak from 2022. And that is due to this real scarcity problem. Now, if you're wondering when more baby boomers are going to come on, it's not going to be this onslaught. It's not going to be this wave, this silver tsunami. Instead, there's going to be this dial where it increases. And you're actually going to see more and more as the population gets older and older and older. In 2030, that dial will crank up a little bit more, but it will be easily absorbed by millennials and Gen Zers that have been eagerly waiting for homes to come on the market. And as more homes come on the market, more product, you will see that this will be easily digested by that demand. The demand will continue to outpace inventory. We really feel that inventory is going to be a problem for some time and don't see a real solution to this immediately, at least not within the next year or two. So that's where we're at right now. So, hey, if you like what you've seen here today, or you like the content and you've seen some of our other videos, please like the video. Please subscribe to the video. And the more likes and subscribe, you know how that works. Basically, everybody out there, it gets into their YouTube algorithms, and more eyeballs see exactly what's really going on. We're not trying to set a narrative. We're trying to show you through data and statistics what's really going on in the marketplace. If you want to subscribe to one of our many housing reports, we have a report that comes out every other week, and that drills down locally and talks about one thing at a time. talking about inventory and demand and market time, and as well as the luxury space and then each individual cities. You can go to reportsonhousing.com. The most recent one that came out is called The Time Is Now, talking about why it really is a good time to purchase. And it's not because I've got my pom-poms out, because actually this chronically low supply, which I think is unhealthy. I wish there were more homes that came on the market, but this is what it is. So I need to explain what it is so people understand why the market is behaving the way it is behaving today. And you can go ahead and subscribe, utilize the coupon code BOOMERS for a free month. And you can also go to view our podcast on YouTube or listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And the most recent one that came out is called Housing Crash Course, because there are so many different variations of where we were supposed to have a crash. And it talks about where we are today and why we're not going to crash. So go ahead and tune into that as well. That is our 17th episode that we just dropped. So I just want to thank you for joining us for yet another housing debrief. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay tuned for what happens with Jobs Friday tomorrow, March 8th, as well as next Tuesday with CPI. These two data points can really make a difference in the marketplace. So we could really see interest rates go up, or we can see them come way down. It all depends upon the data. So the data is what we're focused on, because the Fed is focused on all the data points. They want to make sure that the data bears out that the overall economy is slowing down just a bit and that inflation's under control. So we're looking at the same thing, because that is what's driving interest rates, because interest rate sensitivity is where we're at within the marketplace. And as soon as we get well below 7% into the sixes, lower into the sixes, you're going to see more and more demand unfold and more transactions take place, and the thawing out of this ice cold market where homeowners aren't selling and there aren't as many buyers will finally thaw, and we'll get more buyers in the marketplace and more sellers as soon as interest rates come down more. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic finish to your week. We will see you on the other side.